Hello YouTube, it is I, the Amazing Kitty Sotis, with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about, which path to choose. Which path should I choose? And without further ado, let's start rolling. So, I just came across this one on the phone, just flipping through just looking up some stuff, and it is, oh yeah, and it's like interesting is reading this person's journey, and it's like really interesting. And this, I get how he feels being torn again between two yeah, like this here. I've studied quite extensively, and I find it difficult sometimes to absorb Vaishnava texts because I recognize the motifs. Whenever I talk about the underlying mechanisms, I am met with fierce scrutiny from bhaktis who insist the literalism of the texts. There's a great joy and love in that path of losing oneself in love of the divine. But I find myself fighting my own mind, having to ignore what to me is obvious, to appease the lineage. If a lineage is a yana, a vehicle, there are also mechanics. And once you lift the hood of the car, it's difficult to pretend it's not there. I feel like I am lying when I nod and agree to some of the superficial interpretations people operate with. This makes me terrified that I might ruin things by revealing too much or get in the way of another human being's salvation. Yeah. And so it's difficult. So it's a difficult situation. I love the divine in all its form, in all his forms, but I have terrible problems forcing myself to believe in the outer narrative, knowing full well that the true meaning is veiled for them. I put no ego in that statement before Svad his Tana kicked in, and I didn't see it either. This puts me at odds with various groups, which I don't want to be in. There is a practical side to this as well, of identity, belonging, investment of time, taking part in a community, and above all, honesty with the forces that make up our very being. I also know that the ego is an expert in talking itself out of situations where it will be forced to change. Whenever it protests vehemently, there is usually something there that will weaken its grip. And so I really get where this person is coming from, having read the entire post, and this is some of the responses to this person. So we'll start with this one. Your question is about who your Ishta Devta should be. This is not difficult to answer. You have to only sit in recollection and contemplate on divinity. The form of divinity that you repeatedly envision is your Ishta Devta. The turmoil in your mind perhaps originates from your early experiences with ISKCON. ISKCON, of course, teaches the supremacy of one divine. Many Hindus would, however, deplore such rigidity. The divines are not in conflict with one another. Venerate of one is equal to the veneration of another. So I have so let's see, I've got an image here which encapsulates this, you know, because aren't they all one? The truth is one, but the wise call it by many names. So it's like this arbitrary nonsense of is by and large just it's by and large this reminds me of what the Abrahamics it reminds me of the Abrahamics and how the Abrahamics say there's only but one God, no one divine. There's only but one divine. And if you venerate any other, you're an adulterer. And I'm like, and I'm like, bugger off, man. When it comes to that sort of stuff, by and large, I've respect for, by and large, I've respect for some of the ISKCON people, you know, but sometimes they can have a stick up their ass. You know, they can have a stick up their ass, and it's annoying when they do have a stick up their ass. I am not going to argue with. I'm not going to debate them because I know very little about this stuff, but I know enough to know that to know enough about some of the stuff. And if you really want to learn something, do your own research into it. Don't take their word on it simply because they say so. Simply because they say it, it is so. Um, use your own inquiry into matters into these matters. You know, this is very important, especially if you choose the path of jhana, or the path of gnosis, since that path does require you to question a lot of things that you're taught, to question your preconceptions and conceptions about the world, and the conceptions and preconceptions of others. It is very important you do that, because if you don't do that, then you're not going to progress toward self-realization. And so let's get back to what I was to this post. And so, very well put. The divines are not in conflict. I agree with ISKCON. ISKCON do have this rigid approach. Nothing against them, as I do attend 2 of their temples on a regular basis and admire their discipline. I mean, I actually respect ISKCON. I respect the man Prabhupada. I really do respect the founder of ISKCON, or else I wouldn't have. And I respect Prabhupada. And by the way, I changed my camera around, so that way it's on my other monitor. And so I respect Prabhupada. If I didn't respect the founder of ISKCON, I wouldn't have bought his books. I wouldn't have bought his book. His books, The Science of Self-Realization, and some of the compilations that he has done of other texts. I would have not have bought these. So it's not a stick up. So it's not a major gripe of mine, but I do find them to be a little bit. And I even bought the newest edition of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And, I personally don't have a problem with too much problems with ISKCON. I don't know enough to even criticize ISKCON on some things. So it's kind of something that I usually don't like to criticize people too much simply because of my lack of knowledge in these areas. But sometimes people can have a bit of a stick up their ass about certain things, and really one of my problems is when people call someone a fool but don't show how they're a fool. Like I can actually show you how some of these Twitter freaks, for instance, that have like bash the fash, um bash a Nazi, punch a Nazi, um turfs and chuds deserve to go to the gulag. I can show you how much of a fool they are by basically showing the one thing, the most universal message that is commonly ignored by many civilizations throughout history. And I can show you this because I have enough of an understanding, especially because I was once a Christian. I can actually quote Christ word for word because I've memorized. I've read so much of Jesus of Nazareth that I can tell you what he thought and what he usually the things that are most common things that you hear. I would have to read the Gospels again and refamiliarize myself with Jesus, but say but one of those things that Jesus says is love and be loved, hate and be hated, kill and be killed. And look how common that is among different cultures. Or you look at if someone strikes you in the face, turn the other cheek. I know that Thomas Sheridan has a problem with that philosophy, but the basic premise of that is really not that different from what you saw with like Siddhartha Gautama, what you're seeing right now on the screen, and what Krishna taught. And it's one of those things that people tend to it's probably because Thomas Sheridan is a European pagan. So, and not to say that I disagree with European paganism, but I find European paganism to have its own problems. I don't like this conquest mindedness that people tend to have in this whole idea of yeah, it tends to be a bit much in my opinion, and I'm not a fan of it. And so I come from like a Christian background. So when so having come from that, I've also learned about Christianity, these assimilation of of Platonism and Stoicism, and sometimes it's best to basically it's best to actually look into specific paths because they tend to be more informative on such subjects. So it's a really good idea to do your own research. So without further ado, let's get back to this whole thing. Open my window. Open the window. It is getting cooler. It's hot in here. So you know, Lord Shiva is called Rameshwar, meaning Ram's Ishwar, or divine. You know, i.e. Vishnu's divine. And you know who's you know and who's the greatest devotee of Ram, the Lord Ram? Hanuman, who's said to be the essence of Shiv. Shiva used to chant Ram's name while recollecting on occasions. And not recollecting what you had for lunch, basically recollecting the nature of the self. And yeah, and we cannot forget Parashuram, another avatar of Vishnu, one of the greatest devotees of Lord Shiva. I'm sure there are many such instances which promote harmony among these deities and their devotees. So if the divines love each other, who can love all the divines? I feel like this is the beauty of Dharma. Many roads take you to the same destination. And I'm pretty sure in Mahabharata and in Gita, Krishna stated that among the Adityas, he's Vishnu, and among the Rudras, he's Shiva. So you can still venerate them according to your own core beliefs. Personally speaking, though, I always imagine them as more humane than a lot of people. I like to imagine how cheerful Lord Vishnu would be if he saw that his devotee and him venerate the same divine, or who ecstatic Bolinath Shiva would be to find out the same thing. Till dear, too long until dear, venerate both. They are way too cool with each other. There's no reason to be worried or torn. In double quotations. As others have suggested, you may venerate both, or you may venerate either of them, and he will take you to Aradhya. You may also think of it as Krishna guiding you to Shiv, since you were introduced to Hinduism by Krishna ji. This is your personal matter and journey. I love the divine in all his forms. You yourself say the truth out loud. There are different forms of the same divine. Choose both. Most Hindus worship both Shiva and Vishnu. I've seen this pattern mostly among practicing Hindus outside of India, where they think they have to choose among one. As I've said, it's that Abrahamic mindset that I really don't like. I really don't like this whole Abrahamic mindset that people think they have to have. You know, Hindus in India worship or rather venerate both of them. I'm 50 now, and just want to make the best of the years I have left. I've wasted a lot of time, or at least it feels that way. I want to learn the discipline I lacked and find a teacher that helped me make the best of my present life. Maybe I am over complicating it. I become quite emotional when thinking about Krishna and Shiv, to the point where I cry, which is unusual for me. And understanding this, and you'll learn to appreciate both simultaneously. You probably think too much. Let it loose, and whoever it is will show you the way, and you will know it. They are both one and the same. I've got an image here. I always save pictures. I always save pictures because pictures speak louder than words. So let's see what we can find here. They are one and the same, and I've got another image here that communicates this point. And there we go, that's the image. And so we have Hari Har. Hari Har. Hari Hair. So, yeah. And so, Mahadev is also known as Rameshwar. There are two interpretations. Bhagawan Shiv is Sri Ram's Ishwar. Sri Ram is Bhagawan Shiv's Ishwar. Similarly, Bhagawan Shiv went to school, the Gokul, to see Sri Krishna's Balswarup. Similarly, Mahadev is the Isht of Sri Krishna too. They're just different faces of the Paramatman. Venerate one of them. They are content with you. Venerate both of them. They will be even more happy. Sri Hari resides in the heart of Mahadev, and Mahadev resides in the heart of Sri Hari. Just like Sri Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavad Gita to Kanteya Arjun. Similarly, Mahadev gave the Shiv Gita to Sri Ram. There is no conflict between the divines and Sanatana Dharma. The only thing is to stay on the path of Dharma. So it's really like, by and large, a lot of these people are basically saying a lot of different things. My thoughts are that you yourself intuitively are your own best guide, rather than strangers from the internet. Ultimately, Shiva and Krishna are the same divine. By definition, there can only be one supreme divine. Back to that image that I showed you. One truth, many names and forms. The truth expressed is one absolute truth that goes by many names. Ultimately, within both sides there are what you seem to have found in only one. Vaishnavism is a strong philosophical side, and Shaivism has a strong bhakti side. The Tamil Nayanar saints of South India were bhaktas. Best wishes in resolving your inner turmoil on this. If not this lifetime, then the next or the next. There's no need to choose, my friend. Both are different forms of the formless one. Here is a Sai Bhajan titled Raghu Patra Shri. Yeah, you can read that. That calls the one divine as Lords Ram, Shiv, and Krishna. Yeah, look, you've read the Gita, right? Then how did you forget that both are the same in a way? Look, chill. For them, you're a child, and don't worry, they know you. I'm born in a family where my mother is a very big devotee of Vishnu. My father is a devotee of Ma Shakti. So I haven't decided one divine as my main divine. I actually venerate everyone. I have Ladu Gopal. I have Namar Deshwar. And I have Shakti too. In my mandir temple at home, I have actually so many divine in there, but don't worry, follow your heart, it's okay. Look, divine is him. It is different ways to reach him. Someone likes bhakti more, it's totally up to you. Yeah, I always say study both bhakti and always study bhakti and jhana. Like study all the different philosophical backgrounds. I mean, that's the reason why Sri Krishna gave the Gita to begin with. To give you like a broader understanding of things, kind of an introduction. Gave it as a primer to doing what is right. Whenever there is a conflict between your heart and your head, you always follow the heart. I'm also a Scandinavian that is into a lot of yoga. If you can cultivate the emotion of love intensely and keep it like that, this known as bhakti yoga. It's not something you can really do, but it may just happen to you. So it doesn't matter what is the object of your devotion. It is the quality of devotion itself that transforms you. Any divine's teachings, religions are fine. It doesn't matter. You just follow what draws you the most. And so it's like I would say you read up about different sects: Shaiva, Vaishnava, Shakta, and Smarta. You can move from Vaishnavism of ISKCON and Shaivism to Smarta. Smarta tradition, which most Indian Hindu believe in, worships all divines. You can visit India, join a good Smarta Advaita sect and guru, and venerate as you feel like. Don't worry too much. All divines are one and form of the same Brahman. I've talked about Brahman on this channel and talked about Brahman being the axle of the wheel. So, so if you've been watching the videos that I've been putting out, I've been talking about this concept of Brahman, but not really touched on this particular subject. So you have such great advice here. So here's so little I can add apart from, like you, I am attached to both. I can't deny the influence of ISKCON, but in my heart they both reside side by side. My mornings are taken up by Shiv and Devi Bhakti as best as I can, and the evening man, what prayers is the right word, are focused on Krishna, Ram, and let's not forget Hanuman. Be at peace with both. I am sure that they are as well with each other. Recently, I had a dream where I was at my local ISKCON temple, and there was Shiva on the dais talking to me. Still wondering, but it's not a source of conflict. Best of luck. So, so this is really interesting. Going through some of these, and I'm like, a lot of great advice. A lot of great advice here. And I thought I'd put this video together on this subject. I hope this helped enlighten you on this particular subject. That's about all. Peace out.